I know what I missed in not having a father. So this is why I chose to help those young men, especially, to learn all these traits that they did not learn because there was no father. And this is where I found out that discipline is a skill like every other skill that you can build. If you feel like something is keeping you away from doing it, maybe it's not the right thing you're doing.
I would love to challenge you to build a framework to help those listening to build discipline in a way that no one can take it from them.
So there's one framework that I also share with my clients.
Welcome to the Nomad Solopreneur Show. I'm your host, Gabe Marushka, joining you on your solopreneurship journey as you build, learn, and grow. Today we have with us Sönke Tristan Venjacob, who's helping men in their 20s reclaim their masculinity through mentoring. In his one-on-one mentoring program, Sönke focuses on improving the client's health, mindset, relationship with women by boosting their masculinity. In today's episode, he shared his inspiring story growing without a father and becoming the man he's today. He shared things that anyone can apply in their own lives. From actionable tips on how to stay focused and become more disciplined to extremely useful resources. Without further ado, let's jump straight into it. Guten Morgen, Sönke. Welcome to the show. How are you today?
I'm doing well. I just finished my ice bath and right now I'm really excited to be here. How are you?
I'm great, and that sounds a bit chilly. I do cold showers in the morning, but ice bath I never try. How is it?
So it's also something new for me. I've done cold showers for 1.5 years. And last week I just said, okay, I will order one of those really small pools. And I can tell you it's much better. First of all, the shock is of course more intense because cold shower is all right. And it's already great for doing cold showers. So kudos to you. But if you can ever try to experience it, just do it once. And you only have to do it for 1 or 2 minutes. Like right now, I'm working my way up. So I'm starting at a really low level. Water temperature is only 10 degrees. So there is more room for improvement. And once the winter comes here in Germany, it will be freezing. And this is why I'm starting right now.
Man, that's awesome. I admire you for that. I heard a lot of people doing it and all the benefits around it. And I can't wait to try it at some point. For now, I'll stick to the cold showers. This is a very manly thing to do. And I know that you're a masculinity mentor. How did you become one and why?
I can start really early on in my childhood where I was raised by my single mom. And once my parents divorced, I worked really hard. My goal was actually back then to become a lawyer so I can make so much money to provide for my mom and me that I know she and I are safe. But when I was 15 years old, it changed because my mom got a really well-paid job and also she met a boyfriend who also made a good amount of money. So I, suddenly saw, wow, we are financially stable for the first time. We can go on vacations. And this allowed me to, of course, also play around, living this typical teenager lifestyle. Partying, playing video games, all of that. And I also started to DJ, which was probably my first introduction into this whole entrepreneurship. Nevertheless, I also got lazy, really lazy in school, lazy in life, since I knew, okay, my mom is safe now. And this purpose of becoming a lawyer and making enough money for us disappeared. And since we were financially stable, I was really lucky that I was able to do this whole travel backpacking thing after graduating from high school, before I started to study, working on different farms as a hostel manager. And suddenly I saw, okay, all this work still required lots of discipline. And I also noticed, okay, my discipline that I once had when I was working really hard in school came back to life. And this was a great moment where I knew, okay, it's not gone forever. It just disappeared. And then I returned. I was 20, almost 21, and I returned to Germany. I started to, I moved into a big city, and in all my travels before, I was doing so much camping. So I was always immersed in nature and I felt really well. But when I moved to this big city, I started to study something that I don't even remember now why I studied. It was marketing management. On the side, I was still pursuing that DJ career, but something always held me back. So I never gave it my all. And then what happened? It's like another mix of different events. I met the wrong friends, started drinking more, smoking weed. I got really lazy, gained lots of weight, and also ruined some friendships through all of this. And even though I was pretty much sabotaging my whole life, I was still developing new skills. So that's where I also found out to pursue photography. And this was the first turning point where I started to shoot marriages, events, and shooting, and also traveling around the world to shoot beautiful women, which was a great experience. So even more, like I think DJing and photography both ignited my fire for freedom and entrepreneurship. So again, I found out, well, I can be disciplined, but then it was mudded again. And I really hit rock bottom like 3 years ago, just when COVID hit. Also, life hit me the hardest. I lost my girlfriend. I lost one of my best friends because I was just lost. And this is, where I started my first monk mode, literally. So I just, I had hair like right now. So for everyone who's on the podcast listening, right now I have long hair and I just shaved my head, literally, and quit smoking weed, started working out, eating healthy again. And suddenly I knew, wow, I can do all of this. Life is still possible for me. And this is where I found out that discipline is a skill like every other skill that you can build.
That was quite a roller coaster journey. And one thing that I see there as a pattern is that you keep coming back to the entrepreneurship thing. You have a vision for something, then you switch off because of the environment or because of your situation or the people that you met and so on. And then again, you start building something, you learn new things, you went into explorer modes, you went back home, you start studying and so on. All this seems that it's something that triggers in you a path that not everyone is taking, the path of building your own thing, the path of helping others. And I'm really curious, part of this getting your discipline back, why you choose to help others reclaim their masculinity?
I was doing lots of soul searching after quitting my corporate job this January, trying out a bunch of different things. I started to create content on LinkedIn and was able to grow an audience really fast, and also meeting lots of entrepreneurs for the really first time. I did personal branding consultations like many other people on LinkedIn, but I was always thinking, okay, this is not something I can talk about 24/7. I don't consume content around personal branding. It's not what I think is my purpose. I ask myself, if I die, what do I want to be known as for? Someone who sold software to other software companies so they can make more revenue? No. And then I looked into myself, okay, what kind of journey did I go through myself? Oh yeah, of course. I pretty much did all the mistakes a young man can do in life, taking drugs, having bad relationships with women, not knowing what I do or why I even want to wake up. And this was the turning point where I journaled a lot in, the past four months, did lots of introspection, lots of experimenting to understand, okay, this is something that the world needs. And this is where I also asked my 4 questions, which refers to ikigai, which is the Japanese concept of purpose. So what am I good at? What does the world need? What can I get paid for? And what do I love doing? Since I love helping people all my life, I pretty much made the decision, okay, this is something also that the world needs, because fatherless children are increasing year by year. And I know what I missed in not having a father. So this is why I chose to help those young men, especially, to learn all these traits that they did not learn because there was no father.
And what's the biggest thing that you miss and learn after growing up without a father?
So I would say the biggest thing was pretty much discipline, because discipline was something that I still had, as I already told, but something I wish I would have had more. Also knowing how to actually deal with women in relationships, how to actually engage in conversations. And yeah, because I was always getting the recommendations of my mom, but her version, of course, is different than a father's version. And yeah, and also overall to just not man up, but also sometimes to say, okay, you have to do the work. Even if you don't feel like doing the work right now, just do it. So pretty much not suppressing your emotions, which I never recommend to anyone, even if you're a man, but putting those emotions, you acknowledge them, but putting them to the side and knowing, okay, just do it. Because if I would have listened to my emotions this morning, I wouldn't have done the ice bath and I wouldn't have done my workout because I didn't feel like working out today.
That's a powerful thing because we don't always have the willing power to do. And there is a lot of misconception that discipline has to do with willpower. But most of the time you might want to do something else, but we are still doing what you have to do because discipline is putting into action. I would love to challenge you to build a framework in order to help those listening to build discipline in a way that no one can take it from them.
So there's one framework that I also share with my clients. And anyone who listens to this, who is doing this honestly, 100% you will reach your goals 3 times faster, because it's a really nice trick to make you aware of your time. So whatever you use, Google Calendar, Outlook, open it up. And what I do, I map out every single minute of my week. So even if you've never done it before, just do it for this week. You can use different colors for work, client work, meetings, content creation, family time, leisure time, whatever. Just make sure you have your calendar mapped out. And this is the first thing where most people say, wow, I don't even know what I do in the evenings. I have 5 hours of instant gratification activities, which is social media and Netflix or whatever. And this is what I do on a monthly basis. And this is where I ask myself, what is another sacrifice that I can make to make more progress towards my goals? And this is, for example, how I mapped out my week yesterday for the new month. And I said, okay, honestly, Sönke, you don't need 1 hour of relaxation in the evenings. Cut it out, and I reduced it to 30 minutes. And I know this will add up in the long term. So this is how I build discipline and also make more progress, because I make myself aware of the time. And then I can identify, okay, where was I lazy? And I'm always honest. It's hard at the beginning, being radically honest, but yeah, it's some sort of method that I use, and it really works. For the past 8 months, I've been doing it, and it's just getting better and better.
That's great to hear. And when you say that you block every single minute of it, it's not overwhelming? Because I faced this problem. When I was blocking every single minute of it, I faced the problem first that I won't stick to it. Even no matter how disciplined I was, some things took longer than expected and delay everything. Or some things were too overwhelming to look at. When I was looking at my calendar and everything was blocked, I was like, oh my God, so many things to do, because I treat my calendar like a to-do list instead of treating it as a calendar. How's the trick to avoid this overwhelm when you look at it and you see that everything is filled?
Yes, first of all, I feel you because freedom is one of my top values and I value my freedom as well. And I was also thinking, wow, everything is blocked out. There's no freedom anymore. But over time, and I had to fight through it, I was able to feel that this whole discipline is bringing me actually the freedom of choice. What you can do if you feel too overwhelmed by this, either choose a color for relaxation. For example, my color is purple. And if I know, okay, I need some relaxation right now, a nap, I don't know, more sleep, or I just want to watch a movie with friends, I just block in that time. And this is one way how I take it and making progress, because that's the whole goal of this activity. You can still remove some blockers if you want. If you feel like, oh, it's too much, I would probably remove 1 or 2 blocks. I can breathe in deeply and move on. But the main goal is just to make progress. And if you're making progress and you are aware of your time, let's go.
Yeah, that's the thing with awareness, because often we're not aware of how we spend our time and what are the things that are actually pushing towards goal. And at the end of the day, discipline is about that, to make progress, as you mentioned, and to be focused on our goal. And when you mention freedom and having the opportunity to basically change that calendar the way you want it in order to achieve your goal, I think that's really powerful. And are any other tips that you can share that helps you stay on track with your goal? Because as you well mentioned, sometimes you might not feel like doing it. What are you doing in order to overcome that thought?
Okay, so first of all, every morning before I start to work, before I start my deep work block, is visualizing my goals. I have my goals mapped out on a monthly basis up until 2032. So 9 years ahead. And I always have one big sentence, my why do I do what I do? And this always makes me come back to doing what I do. Because I know having this why is just giving me that push to fight through. And if you feel like something is keeping you away from doing it, maybe it's not the right thing you're doing, because I know that what I do is much needed. And this is what pushes me through, because I know this has to be done. And if I think back of other jobs that I've done that didn't fulfill me, that weren't my purpose, I was always having that feeling of, something is fighting against it. But if you have your purpose, just make sure your why. Every morning I make sure, why am I doing it? And the second thing is, which actually helps me to make more progress, is deep work. Deep work, there's also this book. Probably you read it, everyone listening to the podcast. If not, read that book, Deep Work by Cal Newport, and also Essentialism, because both 2 books combined will give you first the ability to work concentrated, and why it's so important, why you get much more work done when you work for 2-3 hours concentrated on something. And the second, Essentialism, finding out which activity is moving the needle forward. Do you want to build an audience? Okay, focus on making content. Do you want to close clients? Focus on sending DMs. What's your main purpose right now? Your main goal? Boom. And block the calendar accordingly, so you make sure you're making progress.
Yeah, that's wonderful, because we often start our day looking at the calendar, seeing all those tasks, but it's nowhere to be seen why we are doing that. And having that small thing every single day before doing our work, or before, I don't know, after getting out of bed, knowing why we are doing, that's extremely powerful to make us push forward even when we don't feel like. And you mentioned 2 books there. There are any other resources that you want to share with those listening that can help them build discipline and in general be more productive?
So there are a couple of tricks that I use. So first thing is my phone. Usually I have my shutdown hours around 9:30, where I put my phone in airplane mode. And until the next day on 12 p.m., I leave it in airplane mode. I don't touch it. This is how, for example, I keep myself in the sleep work mode. Second, how to stay disciplined is I have a habit tracker app on my phone. You can, if you don't even need an app for it, you can just grab a piece of paper and write down every single day of the month. Make sure you write down your habits and just tick the boxes. I use an app for it because it gives me much more data so I can analyze it. But yeah, this is, for example, for how I track my habits. So I know, okay, did I go to bed before 11? Yes. All right. Perfect. Did I do my 20 minutes of meditation? Did I do my ice bath, my workout, all my daily habits? And this is how I also keep myself accountable.
Good tricks. And I use some of them as well. I think it's called exactly that, habit tracker or something, the app. And when it comes to the phone, that's an amazing one, because even that, surprisingly, 90% of our distractions come from within. We still have those 10% of distractions coming from exterior, phone notifications. So not having access to that, by intentionally block it, knowing that if not, we're going to reach out for it and so on. That's extremely powerful. And thank you so much for sharing that. When it comes to your work, how people can get in touch with you in order to work with you and where they can find you?
First of all, on LinkedIn, it's my biggest platform at the moment. Just send me a DM. And then I also post daily content on YouTube where I provide tips around, masculinity, how to become a better man. There's also a newsletter I write with lots of love every Saturday. And if you want to see my whole transformation that I went through, there's also a website where you can see how I went from fat to fit and got a hold of my life.
That's awesome. I'll put as well the links in the show notes. And to wrap things up, knowledge is nothing without practice. So we want those listening to actually make the first step towards discipline. What can they do in less than 24 hours in order to achieve the first step toward building a better discipline in their life?
Since most of our distractions come from, using a phone and just seeing the phone and seeing messages come in, even in the morning, there's one thing you can try. First, texting all your loved ones, your friends and family about it so they don't worry. It's that you say, okay, until next morning, 12 p.m., I won't be able to reach your calls, reach your messages. So putting your phone in the airplane mode in the evening before you go to sleep, then you start your morning with purpose, not pleasure. So you set a specific task you want to achieve, you want to finish. And then at 12 p.m., you turn off the airplane mode, you let the world come in. And by the end of the day, you sit down, you have your journal out. And if you don't have a journal, just grab a pen and a piece of paper and be honest with yourself. Ask yourself, how much more work did I get finished today? And this will get you perspective of how much this airplane mode hack can help you in order to be more disciplined and make more progress towards your goals.
Love that. And I can confirm that 100% works. And another I can add here is more extreme, but I heard there are some sort of boxes in which you can put your phone and gut lock out, and you're not able to open that box for the set amount of time you put there. We live in the age of constant information, constant noise, constant notifications from everywhere. So having a limit, it can change the way we perceive our life and in the same time, how we achieve our goals. Because without that, we can get distracted very well because we are the master of our own environment.
Well said. I like it.
Thanks. And thank you so much for coming today. As always, a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you so much, Gabriel. I also really enjoyed it.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Make sure to check the show notes where you'll find direct links to the tools and resources mentioned in this episode, and much more. If you enjoyed this podcast, make sure to subscribe to your favorite podcast station to not miss when we drop the next one. We have lots of exciting guests and surprises for you coming up. This is your host, Gabe Marushka, with the Nomad Solopreneur Show. Until next week, Pura Vida!